what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at an awesome upcoming mini arcade known as the GRS Build-A-Cade. This is coming to us from a fellow YouTuber, and in fact I've actually been really good buddies with him for about 5 to 6 years now. And he's got a YouTube channel known as Glenn's Retro Show. Some of my regular viewers might be familiar with him. He does some really awesome arcade stuff over there. I'll leave a link to the channel in the description. And before we get started, I do want to mention that he did send this over for review, but I'm not being paid to make this review, or is he even going to look at the video before it goes live? But this is something I've personally been waiting on for a little while now. He's done a lot of projects in the past, like a Star Wars yoke for the Arcade 1-Up, a full-size arcade spinner that uses a Hall effect sensor, and an optical trackball. So yeah, GRS has created some awesome projects in the past, but when it comes down to it, this is something I've personally been waiting on for a little while now, and I finally got a chance to take a look at this thing, and I can tell you right off the bat, this thing is top-notch, and it's got something going for it that I haven't seen in any other mini arcade on the market. Swappable control panels. Now this was something that kind of blew me away when I first learned that he was going to be doing this. I didn't know if he was going to be able to pull it off or not. But he's offering the trackball control panel, the spinner control panel, the 5-button joystick control panel, and a dual stick control panel. Now the Build-A-Cade itself comes with a single stick control panel that works out great for a lot of these vertical arcade games that you're going to be running on it. And we'll definitely take a look at a couple of these panels in this video, but like I mentioned, this will use a Raspberry Pi 3 or a Raspberry Pi 4. I'm pretty sure you'd be able to use a Raspberry Pi 2 in here, but don't quote me on that. For this setup here, I'm just going to go with the Raspberry Pi 3. Now, since we're working with a smaller arcade and a vertical screen, the Pi 3 is going to handle any of those games that I can throw at it. But keep in mind, the Build-A-Cade also has full-size HDMI around back, so you could connect this to a larger display if you want to. But another cool feature about this little machine is it's got a 5,000 milliamp hour rechargeable battery built in that'll get you around 4 hours of gameplay out of this unit. As the name Build-A-Cade suggests, you will have to put this thing together, and it comes with everything you need except for a Raspberry Pi 3, or if you opt to use a Raspberry Pi 4, and a power supply. And by the way, this uses a USB Type-C connection around the back to either power the unit up or charge the included 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So this utilizes a 4.3-inch IPS display. This is going to be running vertical. It's made for those older MAME games, but you can always go HDMI out and basically play anything that your Raspberry Pi will allow you to do. And it really comes down to using a 3 or a 4 on what you can play with the Pi. Everything's here, and everything is labeled. All of the screw bags are labeled and everything like that. And I can't get over how nice these little things feel. So this is using micro switches, and it comes with a 3-button control deck. So we've got a joystick and 3 buttons, plus the unit itself does have some controls around back, and we'll take a look at those in a second. Here's that 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and this should get us around 4 hours of gameplay using a Pi 3, playing those older vertical MAME games, and there are thousands of games that'll run really well on this unit, even if you choose to use the Raspberry Pi 3. Manual here looks like it's super easy to follow. Plus, if you need some help, you can always check out his YouTube channel. He's got a full assembly guide over there. But in this video, I'm not going to be doing a guide or a tutorial. I will go over some of the steps that I took to get this put together, but it does seem really, really easy. I know a lot of people are wondering about the price right now, and it's actually going for $89.99, which really isn't that bad given the other mini arcades on the market right now, and especially coming from a small creator. He doesn't have a huge company or anything like that, and I can tell you right now, I've known Glenn for about 6 years. He's definitely not in it for the money, and just taking a look at what comes with this unit, what kind of work went into it, I'm not sure if he's making anything or much at all off of these little arcade machines. Now, when it comes down to it, this might seem expensive to some people, but if you do a quick search online right now for 1/6 scale arcades, you'll see they're going for $150 to $300, and those only have a single, maybe 2 games on them. But since this is powered by a Raspberry Pi, we can add thousands and thousands of games to this little unit. So I'm really excited to test this thing out and see how it performs. I'm not going to be doing a full assembly tutorial, but I did want to give you a look at a few different things here. I've got that battery mounted in the base of the arcade machine. I've also got my Raspberry Pi 3 mounted up. This actually mounts to the back of the display. It's a DSi display, but we've also got HDMI out. So if you did have this set on your desk next to your monitor or maybe next to your TV, you can plug HDMI right in there and play some games on the big screen. So far, assembly's going really smooth here. This is constructed of plastic. It's actually a really thick plastic, and one thing I've noticed here is I'm actually not afraid that I'm going to break anything. Everything seems really sturdy. Control panel installed, the screen, the Raspberry Pi. I've also got the battery. I'm just going to go ahead and finish getting this thing together, and we'll take a look at it without the vinyls on it. We're going to add those later on, but I wanted to give you a quick look at the clean build. And here it is. So it does come with the vinyls. I'll put those on in a second, but I wanted to give you a look at it the way it is right now, because you can actually download the vinyl template and get some custom ones printed up if you wanted to, so you could basically do whatever you want with it. And around back here, we do have access to the micro SD card, so it's easily accessible. We've also got a 4-way joystick right here, so we can control anything on screen if we want to. Dual stereo speakers. We've got volume control, 2 USB ports. We've also got our on and off switch, USB Type-C for charging the included battery or just powering the unit, and on the very bottom we've got full-size HDMI. So really, other than this being a battery-powered portable arcade machine powered by a Pi, it's also a really nice Raspberry Pi case because we've got those USBs on the exterior, HDMI, and we can access that micro SD card, so if you want to swap out your operating system, you can do it really easily. And speaking of operating system, this kit does come with a 32GB micro SD card with their installer included, so it's really easy to get up and running. And we've also got that lit marquee. I just used that vinyl right up top here. I think it looks really good. And if you did want to go with different graphics, you can always check out their full template, get another company to print something out for you, and you could totally customize this little unit. So this is the first time I'm booting up from the included micro SD card, and it's got the pin installer pre-installed. So instead of having RetroPie already on the micro SD card, you will have to connect online, so we're going to connect the Wi-Fi here. You can actually use the built-in controls. All of this stuff is fully functional, believe it or not, and it does work out really well. So I personally like to just connect a mouse and keyboard, really easy with that USB on the rear of this thing. So I'll connect online, and it's going to ask me what image I want to download. You're going to see one listed here, and that's the custom image for the Build-A-Cade. You're just going to select it, choose install, wait a couple minutes, doesn't take long at all. We'll reboot the system, and then you're running RetroPie ready to go. And with this, you will have to add your own games if you want a super large library, but there is one fully licensed Midway game on here, known as The Adventures of Robbie Roto. Okay, so I just threw the artwork on it, and at first I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it's actually starting to grow on me. I think it looks pretty good. But when it comes to playing games, I mean, this is going to run anything your Raspberry Pi 3 or Raspberry Pi 4 can run. Basically, what I've got set up on here are just vertical arcade games. We're using MAME here. And as soon as you add your ROMs to this, it's automatically going to separate them. So we've got, the trackball section, the spinner section, and I've only added a few, but if you take a look here, you can see that my joystick or 3-button section here has the most games. And by the way, our player 1 coin and player 2 coin are automatically mapped to the 2 front buttons here, the coin slot buttons, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I was really surprised at how well this little joystick and buttons work here. We'll get into a little bit of gameplay. And I just went with 1942. So we've got our fire button, our joystick is obviously working, and this is one of those games that could really stand to have kind of an auto fire or maybe even like a turbo button. You could map that with RetroArch, but right now we've just got that single press, or you could hold it, but that shot just really isn't fast enough. But it's pretty awesome how well this joystick works, and of course the buttons are also working really well, but I was just really impressed by how well put together this little joystick is. It's a 4-way joystick using micro switches. But one thing I've been really wanting to test here are these extra control panels, and I'm actually going to go with the spinner in this video, but we've also got that trackball, we've got the 3-button joystick, and the dual joystick. So they're going to work just as well as what came on the unit. We've just got a couple extra buttons here. And when it comes to the trackball and spinner, you will need to plug in one extra USB. This is included with each of these. But what's really awesome about these is basically they're just kind of miniaturized versions of the larger ones that GRS makes. Because in this mini version, it's still using that optical sensor. So it's an optical trackball here in a 1/6 scale. So yeah, this could be a lot of fun for a ton of different games on the Raspberry Pi in this little arcade cabinet. But the one that interests me the most is the spinner. So I've actually tested out the full-size version of GRS's spinner, And it works really well. And instead of using a physical connection with the spinner, it's actually using a Hall effect sensor. And if you're not familiar with this, basically it's a magnetic field. We've been seeing this a lot with newer x86 handhelds that have come to the market, at least with the analog sticks. But GRS has been doing this a while with their larger spinner, and they just basically transferred it over to the mini spinner here. And the first time I spun this thing, I was really impressed by how good it felt. And it also comes with a steering wheel topper, so if you want to play some racing games, you can always just kind of snap this right on, and it should go all the way down. It's brand new, so I might need to put a little force on it. Looks good after I got it on the right way, and I think it will go down a little bit more, and as soon as I get this installed in the cabinet, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to kind of press it down and not have to worry about it. So I've got the spinner control panel installed, and it doesn't work like a joystick or a D-pad, so we'll actually have to use that joystick on the rear of the unit. That's exactly why it's here, so we can navigate the operating system and choose our game this way. So the first spinner compatible game that I wanted to test here was Arkanoid. And as you can see, this little spinner is working, and it just works right out of the box with this operating system here. Everything is actually ready to go. Super smooth operation. And it will take me a little time to get used to, having this smaller one, but I think it could definitely be done. Next up, we've got Tempest, and this one will really show you how accurate we can get with this spinner. And the final one I wanted to test was Redline Racing. I wanted to go with a racing game, given that we have this, installable steering wheel. And yeah, I mean, everything on this little machine functions just like it should. Basically, GRS took a full-size arcade machine and shrunk it down to 1/6 scale. So I've really been having a blast with the Build-A-Cade. I think it was well thought out and well executed. If you're into these smaller arcade machines, then I would highly recommend checking it out. I will leave some links in the description. I personally think that GRS did an amazing job with this thing, and I'm not just saying it because, Glenn is my buddy. If I would have pulled this thing out of the box and it sucked, I wouldn't have even done a video on it. But, I own and I've reviewed stuff that Glenn has made in the past, and his stuff is definitely top notch. So this is something that I could definitely recommend if you're into these smaller arcade cabinets, and there is a market out there for these. So if you're interested in learning more, I'm going to leave a few links in the description. First up is Thundersticks. This is where you can pre-order it. It's $89.99 for the kit, plus they're offering the 4-pack of those extra control decks for $74.99, or you could buy them individually. And to tell you the truth, if I had to go through this and do it myself, I would probably just go with the spinner and the trackball, plus the arcade cabinet itself. I'm also going to leave a link to GRS's YouTube channel. I would highly recommend checking it out. Lots of great information over there about the Build-A-Cade and arcades in general. Plus, they also have a Facebook group dedicated to the Build-A-Cade. So if you've got any questions, you can head over there and join. But in the end, it's really up to you. If you're into something like this, then I could highly recommend it. If not, I completely understand. But that's going to wrap it up for this first look video. If there's anything else you want to see running on the Build-A-Cade, or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.